Hello again, everybody. Jeff Reinhardt here, LMP and Lancaster Online. Welcome to the Week 8 edition of the LL Football Roundtable, sponsored by Bobby Rahal Lexus. Thank you for that very much this season. Good stuff in Week 7. So we had to come over here to Hempfield and check in on the Black Knights. They had an enormous win last week. They knocked off Wilson for the first time since 2005, and the Black Knights took over sole possession of first place in Section 1, and they have another huge game this week. It's a non-league game, we'll get to it, but it's a gigantic game around District 3 this week. We're going to bring in the kid right now who scored the game-winning touchdown last week against Wilson, which had to be a thrill. This is Stephen Catch, jack-of-all-trades kid for Hempfield. You knocked off Wilson and you scored the game-winning touchdown, my man. How did that feel?
It felt great just winning and finally getting what should be a section title, which we haven't had since 2005, I believe.
It's been a while, 2005, but you have some business to take care of first. I think you would agree. But touch on the Wilson game, please. Such a rival and a team that you know you got to knock off every year if you want to get to where you want to be in Week 10. Huge drive at the end, and you punched it in. So talk us through that drive. How exciting, and what did it mean to finally knock off the Bulldogs?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great drive. We just kept doing what we had to do. Aiden had a great 4th and 2 catch there. He fought for extra yards to get the first down. Then once he got to the goal line, I just saw a cutback and just tried to get in and scored. So.
You don't want any hangovers, and I know you guard against that, but are you hoping that that game is a springboard now and not an we beat Wilson and now our season's over, win or lose? Are you hoping that's a springboard? Because you have 3 big weeks here. Absolutely. And you got to close the job.
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I don't think this will be a hangover game because we know how good Exeter is. You know, they're defending 5A champs. You know, last 2 years we went into the last play of the game with them. 2 years ago we lost in overtime to start the season for COVID. And then last year we were able to knock them off at the end by them missing a field goal. So, you know, we're very familiar with Exeter. We know how good they are, and we know that they've been dominating this season. So definitely don't think there'll be a hangover. And plus, this is senior night for our guys. So, you know, I know this is very important to our seniors. Last time they'll be on the field, you know, and they want to leave the right way. And it's fitting because nothing was easy for this group. So it's fitting that this game is going to be extremely hard. And to answer your question, I know that there'll be no hangover.
How important is it now? Because, hey, you got Exeter and it's a great game. Win, lose, or draw, you got to turn around and play your last 2 section games. How important is it now for you guys? And it's so cliche, day at a time, week at a time. We can't look past Exeter, but knowing that you got 2 section games later on that you got to win the title. How do you approach these last 3 weeks? Gingerly, I would say.
I'd say we just have to buckle down and not look too far ahead, focus on our task at hand. And, yeah, Exeter doesn't matter, but for us, for districts, it does matter. So we just try to lock in every week, don't think too far, and just buckle in.
Thanks to the folks at Hempfield. They ought to be talkative with the way they're rolling right now. And to Jeffrey and Tyler for hanging out the other day with the Black Knights. Welcome back to the studio for the latest edition of the LL Football Roundtable, brought to you by Bobby Rahal Lexus. My name is Mike Gross. I host these proceedings. And to my left is John Walk. To my right is Jeff Reinhardt. We cover high school football. Mostly these guys cover high school football for LNPLancasterOnline.com. So let's talk about what we witnessed last week very quickly.
Very quickly.
But some big stuff.
Absolutely. Week 7 was fantastic.
Yeah, some big games,
so
and they came up.
So much happened in Week 7, it's mind-boggling.
Yep.
I had to do like an extra notebook because so much happened last week. Quickly, number 1, saw why I'm missing live. They're good. They're very good. They forced 3 fumbles in the first quarter against Cocalico. It was 21-0 before everybody sat down. They win their 32nd regular season game in a row. Wow. Beat Cocalico.
Not a lot of suspense in their game.
Not at all. They're so, everything is just snappy, and the way they run that wing tee, you have no idea where it's going or who has it. I lost track of who had it several times just trying to cover it. YMSing's really good.
And
really
they
good.
Keep the clock moving.
Oh yeah,
which we like.
Quick game. Too many timeouts and penalties, but that game went really fast. I have a feeling we're going to be covering YO into December. They're very good. Okay,
no doubt.
Next up, Lancaster Catholic goes to 7-0, barely. They go to Anvil Cleona. Dutchmen have a shot at a 2-point play late to win it. Pass fail, incomplete. Catholic survives 14-13. Wow. They're tied for first with Schuylkill Valley in Section 5. Panthers, 5 wins in a row. Catholic at Schuylkill Valley in week 10. Tricky game for Schuylkill Valley this week. They play Hamburg, which is 6-1 in the Frost Bowl. There you go. There you go. Game of the week last week, Solanco E-Town, which we hyped so much, lived up to it. Unbelievable game. E-Town gets a late lead. Solanco drives the length of the field. Brody Mellinger, QB keeper with 1:30 something to go, punches it in. E-Town, last gasp drive, couldn't get it done. 35-32 Mules. Amazing game. Solanco's really good. You're going to touch on them in a minute. Lastly, Hempfield beat Wilson at Wilson for the first time since 1994.
And 75-yard drive with the game on the line to win it. And had to throw the ball, which they are not exactly, not exactly Mike Leach. George Eager is not exactly Mike Leach. That was a really impressive win.
Big time win, and Brian Williams gets the pick late. Hempfield wins. They're alone in first place in Section 1. First win in West Lawn since 94. I was just breaking in here like in 93. So, wow.
A lot of things about the district playoff picture got a little bit clearer. I mean, there's still a lot to be decided, so we're going to go through that in a minute. But before we do, John, your thoughts on last week?
Last week, I was at Lampeter Strasburg against Berks Catholic, 2 proud programs given the recent history between both, and it gets off to a rough start for LS. Like 3 plays in, they throw an interception. Berks Catholic eventually turns that interception down to the 2-yard line. Turnover on downs, the defense holds up, the offense gets the ball, goes 98 yards, boom, touchdown, and they're off to the races. LS eventually scores the game's first 30 points, and they win 30-7. My first time seeing the Pioneers, very impressed with Hunter Hildenbrand. By the end of the night, had 155 all-purpose yards through the air, catching 3 passes and on the ground. I think he had a big 60-yard run. He had a big 45-yard touchdown catch. And he had an interception. The LS defense continues to be really lights out as they've been.
They really defend.
It's crazy to think week 1 they gave up, 30-odd points to Solanco, and since then they've been buttoned up.
And this guy who's the current coach, he was the defensive coordinator, right? When John was there. That's probably not a coincidence.
And the scary thing about LS is they're flying under the radar here. Don't you? Really?
Yeah, they are.
The last couple of years. Yeah, the last couple of years they've been there, and they were.
Why missing week 10? There
they were going to win the last year or two with McTaggart and that whole crew. This year, a little under the radar, but here they are. Holy moly, at YO in week 10. That should
and it's not easy to keep it rolling, as we've seen with some other really good programs. Recent years kind of struggling
and
this
season.
And
they lost week 1, too.
They did, and they have been, nobody's sniffed them since. So they've been really good.
Okay, we're headed to week 8, 3 weeks to go in the regular season. I took a little bit of a deep dive into the district power rankings. Not anything that these guys don't know probably, but maybe some things that will be some interesting to just run down where we stand as these critical last couple of weeks of the season. Starting in 6A, Hempfield is the number 2 seed right now, 6-1. Play Exeter this week. Very interesting game that we'll talk about in a minute. Township is number 5 seed, 5-2. And Wilson is the 7th seed, also 5-2. They play each other week 10. Anybody who's paying attention at all could have predicted that would be a big game.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's going to be.
And hey, you see who's on the bubble line in 6A.
Yes, Penn Manor. 8 teams make it in 6A. Penn Manor's number 8. They still have to play Wilson.
They play Wilson on Friday.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on there. And 6A, like it usually is in football and basketball in District 3, just about anybody who makes it could win it.
Flip it.
Yeah, really. 5A. Solanco is the number 1 seed. Solanco, who we kind of sort of saw coming, but I don't think we saw this coming quite. With some 3 very winnable games left, they're undefeated, and they're going to be the 1 seed if they win out. I think almost certainly. Exeter is the number 2 seed, still has to play Hempfield and Manheim Central. E-Town, number 4 with only 1 loss. They're right there. And Conestoga Valley, number 11 seed. And we have a zillion 5A schools. So we get 12 teams make districts. I mean, so they have a big hill to climb. They still have to play Central and Exeter. But they're in it.
And there's a bunch of LLs right behind them. That are
that's right.
District teams.
Yeah, we have a million in our league and in our district in 5A. 4A, Manheim Central, undefeated. They're the 1 seed.
Aren't they 2? Is LS number 1?
Well, then either way, LS and Central are 1-2.
Yeah, they
Let's say it
change
that way.
like every 15 minutes when they put the scores in from last week that people forget.
McDevitt is number 3.
Number 3.
And then I think there's a pretty big drop-off. However, Elko is at the number 8 seed, and if you look at who's underneath them, they got a puncher's chance. 10 teams make it in that class, and they have some tough games left, but they have a chance to sneak into districts, which would be something.
Because they won early, knowing their league schedule was going to be a grinder, and they won the non-league games they had to win.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. 3A, 6 teams make it. Why am missing? They're pretty safe. This just in.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be okay. Lancaster Catholic is the 2 seed and also undefeated.
Really good.
And Berks Catholic, 2 and 5.
But in the picture.
But 6 teams make it, and they're 7th, and you know they got a shot. And then the only remaining team we have is in AA is Anvil Clayona, which is 4 and 3. They're 3rd seeded. 4 teams make it. They might get in with 1 more win. They probably get in with 2 more wins. They're in pretty good shape.
And they have Peckway Valley Friday, which is that's gettable.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and they still have to play Schuylkill Valley, which is
they're pretty good.
But so anyway, we hope to see the Phoenix Music play on into the postseason.
Yes.
So that's districts, guys. What are you thinking when you hear all this stuff?
It's a great 3 weeks, and that's kind of what I've been writing about here this week every morning. Just the way this is going to get set up. We have a great Hempfield. If they win out, and Cumberland Valley has to play Harrisburg.
Yeah.
Hempfield could end up jumping. There's a 1 seed. LS or Central could be a 1 seed. Solanco could be a 1 seed.
Yeah.
That's a lot of home
games. It's going to be
games.
fun in November.
Yeah, a lot of local teams should have a pretty good shot to win districts. I would
Now, week 8.
Week 8.
Let's talk about it. Let's start with LS and Elko. We just talked about both of these teams.
Yes.
John.
LS Elko. All right, so I'm going to be at this game, and I think the big sticking point here, kind of akin to last week with the Pioneers going up against Berks Catholic run game. They kept the lid on J.J. Jordan, kept him under, I think, 60 rushing yards before he went out with an injury, but I don't think that would have made much of a difference had he come back in anyway, because they kind of really kept Berks Catholic bottled up in the run game, which is important to keep in mind considering Elko likes to run the ball. Jake Williams last week, 319 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns, and a 41-21 win over Octorara. He's going to have a little bit more of a challenge against an LS run defense that's third best in the league, holding opponents to 120 rushing yards per game. So that's kind of the key that you want to keep an eye on there.
And they're 3rd best statistically, but they're probably really better than that if you look at who they played. I mean, they played Solanco, and tough spot for Elko, obviously, against the team. And you know they'll bring it. You know they'll bring what they have. That's
definitely.
Sure.
Jake's close. He's
catching up
to Mr. Music. He's only like 12 or 13 yards
Jake is
behind
a very
him.
good. He's as good defensively as he is offensive.
Yeah, he's a stud, and he's only a junior.
That's right. That's correct.
Yeah, he's very good.
Was a factor as a freshman, and then injury-plagued sophomore year.
Yes.
This used to be, there were times when this was the biggest game in our league in the entire season, Conestoga Valley and Manheim Central. Those times have passed.
Yeah.
But, Ryan, your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, CV beat them in the COVID year when Central struggled a little bit.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
that snapped like a 10 or
I covered
plus
that game.
year.
That was really a fun game. Great play calling job by then Coach Gerard Novak.
Yeah, and that's the first time CV had beaten them in 10 or 12 plus years. So Central's kind of dominated.
And that Manheim Central defense was an aberration times a zillion.
Yeah, they
That's
flushed
not that year was not who they are.
They have flushed 2020 because they've been unbelievable since. I could rattle Central stats for an hour, but the last 2 weeks they won 70-0 and 83-7. And I know you look at competition and their record and everything, but the Barons are getting it done. Zach Hahn, 20 touchdown passes, leads the league. Bryson Armold, who is fantastic.
Must be.
Unbelievable.
What he's doing,
12 touchdowns in the last 4 games, went over 1,000 yards last week. He's been great. Aaron Enterline is averaging 35 yards a catch.
They need to get a game, though.
Sure, they need
CV will help Manheim Central if they show up and put up a fight here. Because what's happened in the last couple of weeks does not help.
No, and CV's won 2 in a row, playing pretty good.
Yeah.
Nick Tran's a really good running back, 700 yards. You know, he's going to test their D. Central's going to have to, you know, really step up and play here, I think, in this game.
Tip of the cap to the Bucks, given they had a new coach.
Yeah.
They had some things in the offseason.
they did.
They're coming off a 3-win season last year.
Yep.
Here they are 4-3 already.
That's a good point, John.
Yep, and in districts, if it ended tomorrow, it doesn't. But if they can take care of their business
And
in the
to
last
paraphrase Rick Pitino, Jordan Steffi ain't walking through that door, if you know what I mean.
Exactly. Yeah, that game, like you said, that used to be the game, and I mean, countless epic matchups there, districts.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Williams.
Against Williams.
You know,
That itself gave
was
it a
easy.
little pro wrestling feel.
that was
yeah.
always a fun early week phone call that week. You
Oh,
know,
yeah,
Jim, you're playing Central this
absolutely.
week. Go.
Oh, my
you know,
goodness.
Mike, you're playing CV this week. Go. Go. Let her rip. Not as much these days, but still a fun game. It's an old school LL game.
This week, this year, though, the best qualitative matchup of Week 8 is probably Hempfield and Exeter.
Oh, yeah.
John?
Non-league matchup in Week 8 against two of the better teams in districts.
yeah.
Hempfield
Yeah.
6A, Exeter 5A, right?
5.
Yeah. Exeter 7-0, Hempfield 6-1, and I'm writing down numbers on both of these teams, trying to figure out, man. And Hempfield, they're 6-1, yet the numbers are like top third in the league, kind of middle of the pack, whether it be offense, defense, you pick a category, and they keep winning these games.
Yeah, they do.
If I had to give an edge, it would probably go to Exeter. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think they prepare every week. They're a game plan team, and I think that's a lot of that is George Eager, but they tailor it specifically to what they're going to have to do that week. And you're right, their numbers don't blow you away, but they're better than their numbers.
Yeah.
And Exeter, for what it's worth, they're about top 5 in almost all the defensive categories. So again, Hempfield offense going to be tested, but yet they keep just answering the challenge every week.
Every week, Exeter needs a game. They've kind of hit a patch here, like Central went through, where nobody is coming close to them. They're winning like 56, whatever, every week. It seems like it. Great game, and it's non-league, I know, but this is one of the best games in the state this week.
It really is.
I mean, it's fabulous. They're 13-1 combined. They're both number 2 in their district, with a shot to maybe get to number 1, depending.
Joey Schlaffer, Penn State commit.
Yes.
Tight end for Exeter.
Amazing.
The kid from Hempfield. I love blowing his name.
David Pale.
Yeah, he's D1 offers, including Penn State.
He just got an offer from Pitt the other day. Yeah. Not Boston College. I saw that reported. He has not been offered from BC. Schlaffer is now Exeter's all-time receptions, receiving yards, touchdowns. And I saw Mike Drago,
threw one last
our
week.
bud. Yeah, he threw one last week. And Mike Drago, our buddy, I saw his column this week. He's close to becoming the Berks County leader in all 3 of those categories, all time.
In each of the 3?
Receiving yards, and touchdown catches. He's coming up on all of those records. Special talent.
And remember, at Media Day, we were talking about him. He's probably going to be their quarterback. Occasionally, he is. They kind of do a wildcat kind of thing, and once in a while he throws it. But mostly, he's been a tight end, and tight ends in most spread offenses are sort of just big wide receivers.
That's where they use
But
it.
he's an athlete. He's a really good. He's an outstanding kid. That should be
an awesome game. It was
should be a great game.
17-14 Hempfield last year, and Hempfield had to block a field goal, like on the last play of the game, to salvage it. So this isn't going to be 38-35. This is going to be like 21-20,
Right. I think
17-16.
I shouldn't say right, but that's how it looks.
It's going to be really close, and hopefully the
those
weather's
surprises.
nice, and that's just going to be a great game. Great game.
Week 8. Ask for it by name. That's it, gang.
Where are you going?
We'll do it again.
Yeah, where are you going?
We'll do it again next week. I'm going to Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's
see Penn
happening
State
there?
play the Wolverines.
Football game out there? No?
And I'll be at Elko against Lampeter Strasburg.
Nice. I'll go to Landisville for Hempfield Exeter. Should be fun.
This has been the LL Football Roundtable, brought to you by Bobby Ray Hall Lexus. I'm Mike Rose. He's John Wall. He's Jeff Reinhardt. See ya.